Howdy. Ho ho, my good humans. How the hell are you doing? This is Unnecessary Rambling. I'm Brandon Sylvia, joined by the homie Looney. How you doing, man? How's the week been for you?
Yes, it's not been too bad, other than being held hostage by Dragon's Dogma.
So I figured today we've both been playing I played two other games, much shorter experiences that I don't have nearly as much to speak on as I do with Dragon's Dogma 2. So I figured we would really just have another week here, and I promise next week I will be playing other things. I'll be playing something new, and so we can mix it up. And then, like I said, we have Alone in the Dark here. We have Open Road, so there's some good stuff to talk about. But and actually, I guess I could talk about BioShock Infinite a little bit as well, depending on how long we go. I liked separating them up with the backlog specific focus there, but if it's a short episode, we'll throw that in as well. I finished that also. Dude, yeah, it's I've been so I went to New Orleans this weekend, and I I took off Friday through Monday. And so I got back yesterday, and New Orleans is only like 2 hours away from me. And so I always kind of prepare for the vacation like, okay, I want to get back and I want to have like a day to decompress, unwind, not really have anything to do because I don't know if you know much about New Orleans, but it can take a toll. It's hectic. It is a hectic place, and I'm getting older. Like, I can't hang with the youngsters anymore. And so I got back yesterday, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna fire up Dragon's Dogma 2 because I'll tell you, Lynn, I was falling off of it pretty hard. I was getting real open world fatigue, and I ended up putting it down. I was like, dude, these quests suck in terms of like getting like it's so vague and obtuse to just get to small things like, oh, let me find this fruit to combine with this thing, like, or let me go find this kid who wandered off and I'm following blue damn,
Oh yeah, the wolf quest. Yeah, the flowers. Yep.
it's all it was listen, and that's the thing. There's moments of this game that are god awful. Like it's a really unbalanced experience. But God, man, I fell into a groove last night. I played this thing for 10 hours yesterday. I can't remember the last time I played a game for 10 hours. I, I mean, maybe since I was a kid. I
Not
binged
even
this thing.
Jedi Survivor. Did that not have that much of a hook?
I don't, and it's a lot of circumstance. So it's like I can't. It's the fact that I had a full day off where I
Yeah,
was
the whole
just
day off. Yeah.
that was really the thing that did it. But like, good God, man, I couldn't put this thing down. And then when I started getting, because I maxed out my thief, the
Yeah, the
two,
thief, the daggers. Yep.
oh boy, I love playing as that damn thief. And I finished the game. I finished Dragon's Dogma 2, and I want to get Loon's thoughts in here. I'm rambling already, but I finished the main story, and I booted back up today. Last, I don't remember. I booted back up as a sorcerer, and I'm like 7 out of 10 maxed out on that. So I'm gonna try to max out my sorcerer as well. And I've been playing 3 hours today, so I can't put this damn thing down. But Loon, I'm gonna kick it over to you, and we'll just really unpack our full thoughts on this thing today. It's gonna be a Dragon's Dogma 2 specific show. I know we talked about it for 30 minutes last week. We're gonna probably talk about it for another 30 minutes here this week.
I mean, it's that impactful of a game, though. Really, it's really it feels special. It feels maybe maybe that's heaping a little bit too much praise, but for me, it's just as as good as like Elden Ring was. How it had that grip over me. Because like you said, like you played it for 10 hours straight. It's ripping you back in. It like I don't think I'm as cold on the quest system as you are. You seem to have not gelled like you're saying with the wolfing counter thing where you're following the little petals and stuff. Did you do that through the day or the night? Just out of curiosity.
The night.
Okay. So it would have been easier to do it at the night as well. I don't know. I've not really touched the quests though, and that's not like a knock to the game. It's just I'm so hooked in just walking around these caves. It's the combat. Like I enjoyed
Yes.
the main story of the first game and stuff, but it was always the combat that really carried the game. So like right now I'm in no rush to finish it. Like that combat is carry I'm 40 hours in, 30, 40 hours in, and I haven't, like I said, I've done when you go to the very first city and they tell you to go clear out the nests. I did that. I did something for a guy in jail and explored the nameless village thing. That is it. I've done three things, and that's like the introductory. Like that's done nothing. That's not pushed the story in any way. And I've explored all the northern part of the map, and I've made it to Batal, snuck around there, went through, and it's just the combat is so damn good that it's like I don't really like. I'm in no rush to get that story finished. Like I can't. I've said it. I know I said it to a friend of mine. I think I said it in the Discord as well. I'm probably planning on slow playing this until Elden Ring's DLC comes out. Like
Yeah.
I'm really in that like amount of like no rush.
Yeah. Yeah. I will for sure. So, like I said, I started up another playthrough. I will for sure max out the sorcerer. I definitely want to play the archer as well. And then I want to do some of the specific, like more specialized, combination builds.
Mm,
But you hit on a good point talking about the roaming whenever you're not trying to find anything and you're just letting the world find you and letting the, big sort of emergent moments come to you and be laid out in front of you. That's where this game really shines. Trying to mainline it, which I did end up kind of, I didn't mainline it. I'm, over 30 hours into the game. So you can beat this game in 10 hours if you just mainline it. And that's the thing that's so funny. This game is unbelievably easy on the main path. All the difficulty is the random
mm,
encounters where you have the big ass griffin who comes and swoops down, and then you got another boss entering the
yeah.
mix, and the wolves and the bird. Like it's, I, I will say, the sorcerer, that might have been the way to go. That might have been the way to go in terms of making this game extremely easy. The Thief was fun, and I think I had the most fun with it because I like character action style games, and you pretty much get to play a character action, archetype with the Thief. But that sorcerer, dude, you can take out a griffin in 3 minutes at level 5.
I mean, yeah. You. It also depends on like what equipment you have because I think I'm at level 45 at the moment, and I'm able to burst down a griffin in about 60 seconds or so,
Yeah.
just standing on its head and just absolutely wailing with a thief. Like it's really, really, really busted.
Oh, you're playing as a thief now.
Yeah, I started with the fire. That was like a 6 out of 10 experience. It wasn't particularly all that thrilling in the first game. Um, what was really disappointing though for me, like a friend's played it in the later portion of the game and it seems to be a little bit better, but the archer sucks ass in the beginning of the
Really?
game. Like because what it was in the first game is that you had the thief and the archer were together. That was one vocation called Strider, I believe, or Range. It was one of the two, Ranger or Strider or something. So you had now they've like divided the two skill sets, so it's weakened the range side of that, but the thief had all of the good stuff really. So that's why the thief's like such a strong class still. So I ended up maxing out like the archer begrudgingly because there was a part of there was an elf guy or something that I was helping out, and you had to be an archer to progress his like quest line and stuff. So I was like, I'll just stick with it, and yeah, I didn't really enjoy that, and then really enjoyed the I'm drawing a blank on the name of it. The spear hand, Mystic spear hand.
Oh yeah, the combination.
Really cool. Really cool class. Um, Kind of finicky and a little bit weird to get down some of the abilities, but really, because I think the clip that I sent either last week that you used or the one that I sent for we'll be using this time, you're able to like use his ability for traversal and stuff. You're able to like completely bridge gaps that you wouldn't be able to get to
Oh,
otherwise.
sick.
Is like spear thing that you throw, you're able to, I was using that for parkour.
Dude, yeah, that's what the levitate ability with the sorcerer.
Mm,
Yeah, same thing. I'm able to kind of it's not I wish it was a little bit more. I was a little bit disappointed in that. Where and I'm sure well actually no, that's not one of the skills, so you can't upgrade it. I don't believe levitate. Have you played with the sorcerer at all?
Not yet. I've avoided both sorcerer and mage
Okay.
so far.
Um, so you can levitate and there like small gaps, you can, clear small gaps just by like levitating. You're kind of flying. It's pretty sick. And in battle, I mean it becomes so and I guess that's why they made it to where you can't stay in air too long because you can't be touched.
Mm.
But yeah, you can levitate backwards and just, start casting spells and you're taking no damage at all. The warrior, have you played as the warrior?
The two-handed one?
Yeah.
No. That was the initial plan was going to be moving from fighter to warrior, but I had to do that archer class, and then I found that spear hand, and I was like, oh, I'm going to keep going with this, and then I heard that the thief was really, really good, and that's what I'm going through at the moment.
I hate the Warrior, but once again, it's slow, and
Mm.
that's like my absolute kryptonite for any video game, action video game. If it's slow, I cannot take it. I think I got to like level 3, and I was like, I can't, I just can't do this. Bounce back to my thief because that was the first thing I wanted to switch to because I knew they had the ability to block, which I think the fighter has the ability to use a shield and block as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you can, and have you had the chance to fight a dragon yet?
Oh yeah, I've killed like 8 of them.
Dude, getting on their head with the thief and then
Mm.
just mashing that square and it just,
Well, that's the beauty of the spear hand thing is that you can teleport onto them, like onto their back.
no.
Yeah, essentially. And it's
Ooh.
just, like they're obviously designed. That's the whole point of the class. Is it's a dragon hunter. Because when you unlock him, he's your first encounter. You're meant to meet him at. I don't know if that's where you met him at, but where you go back to, is it Melv?
Yeah,
The
that's
starting, the starting one that's like completely ruined, and then there's
yep.
like a dragon with like pustules on it, and he's just sitting there punking it. And you're
Yeah,
able to talk to him and pick the class up. And he's like, "Yeah, this is like designed to hunt dragons and stuff." And you're like, "Oh, cool, I'll take that." But
dude.
man, the trickster, like we've been talking fairly positive things. Like that looked so badass in the trailer, and then because I haven't touched it, it's been really like rude because a friend found the class and they were like really hyped, and it was just like maybe it'll get better next level. Maybe it'll like get a skill that like gives it per it's really bad.
It's
It
awful.
doesn't seem to do anything. Like you're able to like distract enemies and stuff, but it and in the like the trailers and stuff, it shows like an illusory dragon and stuff. I was thinking like, yo, that'd be like his combat ability. That's cool as shit. Being able to like summon a spectral dragon to fight for you for like a short period of time, or even just as like a one attack swipe.
Well,
It just it doesn't seem to do anything.
no, I got to like level 4 on the trickster, and I was just like, and I'm constantly looking through and trying to find different skills that are fun, and it's just, dude, it's not at all. You have the ability to like summon a mimic version of yourself, and a bunch of
Mm.
the enemies will like go towards that. It's like a Diet Mysterio from Spider-Man. Like, it should be cool with all these
And
kind of.
he even sucks in of himself, so getting a diet version.
But it could be really cool with all of these sort of mystic manipulation tactics that you're doing and using magic to your advantage and kind of trying to you're almost being like you're steering traffic in the wrong direction. Like it would be cool to like, okay, I'm going to turn these enemies on each other and I'm gonna, try
Yeah.
to manipulate this dragon to go and kill all these smaller enemies. Now we can focus on the dragon one on one. And like, I don't know, it almost that was the one build where I was like, I think this being if this was in a more turn-based manner, like if you
Mm.
could slow it down a little bit, like how Final Fantasy Rebirth, you can slow it down and have you can pull up the menus and select your attacks. I think that could be a cool way of working with the trickster, but in real time, it had the flow just wasn't there like the other builds. Um, so are you sticking with the thief or you already maxed the thief out?
I think I went south of Batal and I'm like exploring like a labyrinth kind of thing at the moment.
Hmm.
And I think I'm one level away from maxing that out. And then I don't know. I know you said like the two-handed is bad, but it feels like I just want to get that out of the way because I want to max them all out.
Right.
And I don't really want to touch the tricks
Nah, yeah, it's not
for
worth
for
it.
a very long time at least. So yeah.
I don't, I think you already have this ability. I don't want to spoil it if you don't, which do you care about an ability spoiler with the thief?
No.
Okay, do
Is
you
that
have
is
the,
it the is it the Meister's ability thing that they give you?
I don't remember the name. It's the one where you can plant the bomb on the enemy and like
Oh
you,
no, yeah, that yeah, that's a basic ability. That is
oh, is
so it
it?
was really good in the first game as well. You used to just be able to like get on top of like big ass enemies and just ram it in their head
Dude,
and
it
stuff.
is so, it almost like you kind of start feeling like damn James Bond or something. You know what I mean? Like you got this damn obviously you're in a fantasy setting and all that, but you're climbing this enemy and you're planning a bomb detonating and you're like jumping off and you're looking back as the enemy's falling. It's so damn it's so cool how these cinematic moments just take place, but it's all through active gameplay that you are
Yeah,
controlling.
I'm so angry at myself because there's an achieve like you get. I think it's called the re-griffining is the achievement, and it's where you get if you don't kill a griffin quick enough, you get him down to like his last like bit of sliver of HP. He'll actually just fly off back to his nest, and if you grab onto him, he will take you there. Like
No.
he's fleeing, and that happened to me, and I was like, "Holy shit, yeah!" And I was like, I'm like obviously losing stamina gripping onto him, and I was like, I gotta like kill this guy. But like I'm gonna be really disappointed if I kill him and we just both plummet out. Like it just cuts off like his existence, and I just plummet and die. It would be very anticlimactic. No, they thought of that. Capcom thought of that. You like plunge into him and he starts spiraling down, and you're like holding onto him, and it's like that thing where like you break someone's fall from so far up by landing on them. And that was
Yeah.
I'm so pissed that I didn't get it. It corrupted the footage thing that I got of
Oh
doing it. I was
man.
so annoyed. I was like, that's like the most badass thing ever. Because it was
Dude.
in Batal, he was flying back and everything, and then like this dragon flew past it and like spooked it, so it went off like of its path, and I like
No.
plunged like the dagger into it, and it's like falling and it slams into the rocks and crumbles down, and you're like holding on to it still.
I'm gonna
It's
jot
just
this
like,
down.
man, that's so damn cool.
So the strategy is to get it down to its last bit of health and just kind of wait for it.
I mean, you don't have to. You can obviously burst it, but it was where I was so weak. I was fighting it when I really shouldn't have.
Oh.
I wasn't like strong enough. So like it then was like, hey, like fight or flight. So it was like, I'm wounded. I'm just gonna go back to my nest and like because that they have that's their thing. Like that you see them flying around. That's not just them spawning. Like they do their own thing.
Yeah.
They will like fly around, hunt prey, eat the prey, and then go back to their nest. They all have homes in the map if you're able to find them.
Well, that's the thing about this game is like it's weird me saying, it's not all that challenge. The main path is not challenging in terms of the quest you're doing,
Mm.
but the getting there is like
Yep.
because it's all dynamic. It's all going to your playthrough, my playthrough, the next guy. Like they're all going to be totally different from one another. So you just getting to wherever on this map. especially what's the B back back?
Patel.
Yeah, is that there's one that's like BAK, is it
Bak Patel is the
back but
name of,
okay,
yeah.
okay. That dude, that area, when you start getting over there, that's where you can really get into some tricky situations if you're not careful. When I rushed, I kind of got there too quick. I wasn't
Yeah.
leveled up properly. I didn't have the appropriate equipment and stats and all that. Dude, I was getting wrecked over there for a little bit. And so I would recommend people, when you get the quest to back patrol.
Yeah. Bak Patel.
When you get the quest to go over there, I would recommend people just kind of, level up a little bit, equip some stats, get better gear, and
I
pace
mean,
yourself a little bit.
even I was slowly like working. I think I began my journey in like the 30s and stuff. And obviously I didn't have like like I didn't like look up on the internet what's the best gear to get in that area and then move on. Like it was just, it felt like, okay, I'm literally like stomping everything in this area now. So I've heard that like Batal's down there and that's kind of interesting and cool and stuff. And they didn't have like a desert area in the first game, so it was like, I like a little change of scenery and stuff. Like 20 hours in, started heading
Yeah,
down there. Did you go through the actual gate with like a pass, or did you go round the mountain?
I had
That
to
mount,
pass.
oh my God, that mountain is a menace. It's so long. Like it is a trip and a half. Like you're going through there and stuff, and it's just like here's a gore monitor, here's a chimera, like all within like the same thing, and then it's like more, 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 and it's just like Jesus never ends. And then you finally get into this cave, and you're like, got to be on the other side of this cave. Like this has to be, and then you just have the rock saurians like be introduced for the like first time, and they are a menace. And you
Yeah,
finally get through, and then it's just like, yeah, and here's like 50 harpies and a griffin, and it's just, oh my God, this never ends.
dude, I'm sure you're already well aware of this. Those damn I'm horrible with names. The dudes with the rocks, the lizards with the rocks, what are they called? The
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 saurians?
the saurians, yeah, the ones that
Yeah,
you can't really, you have to like get their belly because the
yeah,
belly's the weak point. Dude,
yeah.
that thief ability where it's the rope. You throw the
Mm,
rope and you pull them and then they just expose their belly. You go over and
yeah.
just jump on them, just stab them in the belly. It's cool that, and even like the birds and shit, they'll be flying at you, and as a thief,
Yeah,
it's
you
kind of
can
hard to
yank them out of the air. It's so good.
speak.
Because
It's so
you're
fun.
so useless at really dealing with them for like a really long time, and then you finally get that ensnare ability, and it's just
Yeah.
like, oh, thank God! And you yank them out, and then it gives you that satisfying. It's not even just like a normal attack; it gives you that like really crunchy, visceral finisher with both the daggers and stuff. Like that's what this game like doesn't get enough credit. The visceralness of the combat and stuff. Like it's not floaty. That like everything feels impactful. Spells, the even the bow and stuff like that. Like everything feels like it's got weight.
Well, dude, that's the thing, Luna, is that like this it's wild how polished this is to be as chaotic as it is. Like,
Mhm.
don't get me wrong, and you brought it up last week. The not having the ability to lock on to enemies is like that's crazy. At certain moments in this game, you really, really need that. And not having it, it feels unnatural. But the fact that, especially with Triangle, the visceral, the gory kills that you can get in this game, it really does feel. I mean, I'm not saying quite as polished, but it kind of feels like a God of War.
Mhm.
It really has that same crunch to it, that same sort of impact, but also with like almost zero scripted nature to how these combat arena, not only how the combat arenas are going to spawn, what's going to spawn inside of them, what you're going to spawn or what you're going to fight at which times. Like this is all pretty much, it's not procedural, but it's all pretty dynamic. These
Yeah,
enemies just kind of roam and do their own thing. You never know what you're going to run into.
yeah. You have like many games get praised for its like its life cycle, like where an NPC will. spawn wherever it lives and then go and do its daily routine and then come back home. And that is it. That is what they do. A lot of these, these animals, some of them obviously, yeah, they sit there and wait and stuff. But you run across um when I was in the starting area and it like turned to night, I was like fighting saurians and stuff. And because the noise generated as well at night travels further, so it aggroes people even more. So you're like clanging metal like swords on their scales and everything, making noises, summoning lightning, and it just draws more. It's like a zombie apocalypse. It just draws more and more of these encounters, and I don't. There's not many games that do that,
No.
and
Well,
it's just it feels, and that's what gives like you're saying, if you beeline the story, it's fairly easy, and that was what the same in the first game. But like, it's the it's the world itself that's the difficulty. It exists in spite of the player. It doesn't like you. It wants to kill you at every turn, and it will just throw as many rocks and just there's certain times where it feels a little bit like, oh, come on, man, like Jesus Christ, can I have like a little bit of a break?
yeah,
But yeah, you hit like a certain level because I've like I said, I'm like mid 40s now, and there's really not anything that's being thrown in my way that's like giving me all that trouble. Like I've clicked with the combat, my gear's good, the party's all good as well. Like
yeah.
it's just 100% enjoyable. Like I'm just going through clearing caves. It doesn't matter what you're throwing at me. It's a really, yeah.
It's so fun, man.
God, it's
Yeah,
such a good game.
it is. It is. And I guess, yeah, to because I do want to talk about the negative a little bit because I do have complaints with the game. And I think you will too, Loon, once you kind of get to the because I have no complaints with the kind of natural flow of the game when you're just existing in it and letting the game be what it is and you just kind of take part in that
Mhm.
world. That's like 10 out of 10. The main quest does, for one, the story's not good. Like it's
Yeah, it wasn't good in the first game, to be fair. Like it wasn't like really, really bad, but it was just like, eh, I don't really care.
yeah. It's combat the game. It's
Mm.
combat the video game. It is the best. It is I don't want to
It's
be
Monster
hyperbolic.
Hunter with bells and whistles is what it is. Like, because Monster Hunter, you obviously spawn in on the map, but you're only there for that one hunt. Whereas
Yeah.
this is just like an unlimited hunt for Monster Hunter, and you're instead of you obviously do your crafting and stuff, but you're mainly foraging your loot out of chests, and it's just yeah, it's Monster Hunter with dungeon crawling, really.
Yeah. It's if it's not the best melee combat I've ever experienced, it is so damn close. It is so damn close. And I mean, but let me go back before we begin praising again. I will say I ran in the further I got in the game, I definitely did experience more performance issues, some real frame rate dipping that was like, yo, this is getting a little bit rough. It didn't happen a ton, but like if I got into a situation where you're locked into that horrible save system where you can't go and select different manual saves, you're either going to load from your rest in or load from your last autosave. And if you get put in a spot where you're, at a bad autosave, like it is what it is. If you didn't rest at the end for the last like 4 or 5 hours, you're going to keep on going back to that autosave. And it sucks. Like it really
Mm,
sucks at certain times whenever there's 50 enemies around you and you're just trying to get to your next quest. But in those situations, that's really where I started seeing some performance issues, where I was in a bad spot and there was just too much going on. And it was like really, really chugging. Like I'm not a frame counter, but I would imagine like very, very low 20s, high teens, low 20s. It was super choppy. Um, and
was that in the Patal region?
yep,
Yeah, it is a lot more like wider and expansive. So I could see that because
yeah,
with the can't even think of the name of the starting region, whatever the hell they named it. It's very like they can kind of do a little bit of magic because there's so much trees and foliage blocking it. So it's dense where you're around, but they can probably unload a lot of assets and kind of redirect it. Whereas in Batal, it's very open, so it has to have a big draw distance and stuff like that.
Yeah. And that as well, that would be another complaint. Just to, I want to provide some criticism here because I do have
Hmm.
some. The enemy or location variety is kind of piss poor. Like you only have three somewhat distinct locations to see in a open world game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it is you're seeing a lot of the same shit over and over again. Thankfully, it, you're these encounters are so crazy that you're almost not even noticing how similar everything gets to a certain point. And the battles are so dynamic, but enemy variety really it's kind of limited as well. You have I shouldn't say limited, but after probably I don't know, 7, 8 hours of playing the game, I pretty much saw only those same enemies for the
So
rest of the game.
that's what I was gonna ask. Because in the first game there was like a major turning point in the story where it kind of introduced a whole new breed of enemies that you wouldn't run into. Does that not happen in this? Like, obviously, I'm assuming it has big story moments and stuff, but is there no like, here's a new wave of enemies just to keep it a little bit fresh and on on your toes?
Well, I mean, I assume you really don't care about spoilers all that much. I mean, and it's not I'm not going to spoil anything with the story, but I will say there's a point where there's like a no return,
Hmm.
and with that save system once again, like I my only option was because you get put on a timer essentially. You have to do this thing in a certain amount
Yeah.
of time. And I'm stuck with this autosave right here because I didn't know that. I had no idea that I go and turn in this certain item, and at that point, the story, like you said, it shifts massively, and I have to do this thing in a certain amount of time. And when I finish the game, if I go back to my last autosave, I'm still in that phase where I have to do this thing in a certain amount of time. When I go back to my last end save, I'm still at that phase where I have to do this certain thing in a certain amount of time. So it's like I can't go and just
Yeah.
experience a lot of the side
There was
content that
there was no pop-up like warning.
yeah, it warns you a ton. It's like you don't
Uh,
well, it warns
I
you a ton after you finish the game. Like, do you want to restart? Because it's saying, hey, if
no,
you
I
re
mean you said that you picked up like that time sensitive quest when you were picking it up. Did there was no flat because there's like I remember they had to implement. I can't remember what game it was. They had to patch that in as like a warning thing because it pissed so many people off.
it might be patched in at this point. I don't remember it in my playthrough,
No, I'm
but
not talking about Dragons. I'm talking about a different game. Had to patch that in because of that same issue of where you give the player a point of no return and you kind of
right.
lock them down that path.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that they didn't have that warning
I
themselves either.
I don't remember it in this instance. I could be mistaken. Every now and then, I'm not gonna lie.
That is
That
awful if that's the case.
Yeah, every now and then, I will kind of glaze over with some of the dialogue, and I'm just like, holy smokes, I could not care less about what the hell you're saying. So it could have been one of those situations, but I do not at all remember being warned. Like, I definitely know for a fact there was no like pop up,
Yeah, there's no
big
pop up
bold.
like, are you sure? Yeah, that's something that you always should. Like, I know it's kind of intrusive to the immersion and stuff like that, and maybe you want to be cool and cryptic and tie that into the NPC saying it, but in this day and age, how quick people are to like lose interest in things and how
Yeah,
quickly it can spoil like an enjoyment. Like you could have been enjoying that like 60 hours and then that ruin it entirely because of that. Like, yeah.
totally. Yeah, it was a bummer. And there, like I talked about earlier, so you brought up the quest with the getting the dude out of jail. Is that the quest you're talking about where you had to break the dude out of jail?
Yeah, but I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I got in there and I'm like, let's go, guy, because like it took me like 3 attempts because I didn't know that they would attack you on sight. So I walk. He's like, yeah, here you can come in. The captain let you through. I was like, oh, sweet. And I'm like walking through the guard thing, and the guy like gives me a side eye, and I'm like, why is he looking at me? He goes, ah, and starts beating the hell out of me. I'm like, what the hell? You said I could come in here. What's going on? It
Yeah.
took like 3 attempts, and then I finally get into his cell, and I'm like, dude, we gotta go. And he's like, I need to read some books. What do you mean you need to read some books? Read the book somewhere else, man. Get out of here. What
And
is wrong with you?
they don't give you the slightest inkling
No.
of where to go to find this damn book thing. And that was when I was really starting to fade on the game. I was like, because I'm pulling up you if I begin pulling up YouTube guides to figure out how to get places, I that's the quickest way to get me to jump off a game because I feel like I'm not doing anything. I feel like I'm looking at what someone else did and I'm following what they're telling me to do. And I hate that so much. And I there was a couple the little dude. So check this out. That's the thing about this dynamic world is that yeah, they have great moments that you could not replicate in any other game. But they also have negatives because of the dynamic nature where you go into a town and you have to interact with this one lady whenever you're finding the dude the boy with the blue flowers. You have to interact with this one lady and she gives you like the final clue and she's supposed to be standing by the ox cart. She wasn't by the ox cart. I'm like, what the hell is going on? What the hell
Oh,
is going
yeah.
on?
Yeah.
And she like roams around by her house certain times. I go to her house, she's not there. And then I go back and she's back by the ox cart. And I'm like,
Hmm.
this is infuriating. There are moments where it is truly infuriating. It's my game of the year. It's infuriating.
Yep.
I don't know.
Nope.
Like,
I'm with you right there. That's funny because I've like tossed that memory kind of aside. I had the same thing in the starting city with the beggar. Did you do that quest or did you just skip it?
the beggar, that was
He's at the
the.
fountain and it's just something you don't even need to talk to anybody. It just throws it into your quest log and it's just like, people want to know how he's making money because he begs and he doesn't get any money. And it's just
I,
like, okay. And then that's all the information you really it's just like see how he gets his money. I love the game. That is the single worst quest I've ever played in a game. So you have to
yeah.
stand there at the fountain in the morning where he's chanting, and you have to wait for him to finish his chant, and then you follow him. He walks all the way to the tavern, all the way, all the way. Doesn't run, doesn't jog, walks, stands there. And I think it was about 10 minutes, 15 minutes of him standing there. I was just also just standing there, and I was like, gotta do something. Sure, like, am I really this stupid? Like, what is he doing? Like, I talk to him, nothing happens. I talk to every other NPC in the area, nothing happens. And then it starts to become nighttime. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I've been here so long. I've gone through a whole damn day night cycle. And he goes, well, that's it for me today. And he turns around, walks all the way home, goes back indoors, and then locks his door. And you try and go through it, and you're like, okay, that's a bit weird. And then he comes out, and like, it's a cool reveal. Like he's pretending to be a beggar. He's actually a nobleman,
Mm,
and you go in there, you get his thing, and then you can choose who to give it back to. But that was like, who the hell designed this quest?
yeah.
This like, I get like the premise that you wanted to tell, like the story of this, but the execution is so bad, so unbelievably bad, and it does that so many times, and because
Over and over.
yeah, all it gave with the radius was at the fountain. He is only at the fountain for like 2 minutes of like the in-game cycle. He's at the tavern for most of it, or he's at his home, and it doesn't tell you that. And it's just like I can understand how that could be really, really frustrating because you're like, oh, I'll go do this quest now, and you get to the area and you're like, no one's here. I've come, and it takes so long to get to places. So if you've gone out of your way to get to that area and the game's wasting your time, you're thinking, what the fuck, man? Like,
Yeah, for
what the
sure.
hell? So I
Did
cannot, yeah, definitely.
did you get to the point where you have to find like the formal wear, the formal clothing?
Yeah, but this is the thing, the beauty of the way I guess I play. I play so slowly and not pick up quests. I had that stuff like
Oh.
I stumbled upon. I was like walking around people's houses. I was like, yoink, yoink, yoink. I was like, oh, formal wear. I saw that for sale for like 80,000 gold.
Yeah,
Sweet.
dude.
It's just like, if you don't stumble upon that and they hand you the quest, because it is, you need to, one of the quests is obviously infiltrating the palace and stuff, so you need to look the part. If you didn't go to that, you're forking up a mass, and that's early in the game as well. They want like 80 grand for that shit. Like, you out of your mind.
Well, dude, and like they have it where in that specific setup there for that quest, they have it where the area that they highlight for you to explore, that's not where you find the stuff. That's
Oh,
not where
is
you
it
find
not?
the
That's hilarious.
no. That's I think that's where you go buy it. And it's like nobody
This
has
is
the
cr
money to go buy that shit.
That's so that yeah, that's really bad. They could at
It
least give you a vague, like, you could buy it here in this radius, or just throw the player a bone. Like,
you just highlight the houses and the
yeah,
surrounding
and
area
be
of the
like, here's the
houses.
noble area, because there's don't give the specific house, like the guy's got clairvoyance and stuff. Like, just have it be like, here's the noble quarters, is the area here, and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's yeah. Obviously, these are like major negatives for you. I think I have a very, very forgiving nature of like game design like this, because TRPGs don't hold your hand. Like, they expect you to, like, they put some rough, like in Pathfinder, there's some rough puzzles there that's like, if you don't figure this shit out, like, tough. Like, interact, like, read, make sure you're reading the books that are like spread out through this dungeon. You engage with this world, or you're just gonna hit that brick wall and you're gonna be like, uh, pull lever,
Yeah.
ow, stab. And obviously, like the Souls games and stuff like that have really cryptic crap that they put in them.
Yeah.
So
I
I'm
don't
definitely more warmer on it of them design aspect. I empathize with, because I empathize with people who can't get into Souls likes. It's a big, not just the fact that they're difficult games, they're difficult to enjoy. They test your
yeah.
patience on so many levels, not just the combat. It's also just trying to weave through their cryptic crap. And that's the same with this game. It has its own little rules and its own little thing, and it's like, you're gonna play by my rules, or you're gonna go look up a video guide. If yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know, dude. I just when I start looking up video guides, I don't want to engage with it anymore because
Mm.
it's like I feel so I don't know. I'm just like, dude, what this is the antithesis of fun to me. It feels like I'm studying and then just applying. It's not even studying. It's worse than that. It's almost like you just gave me the answers and I'm just jotting them in. It's like this is unbelievably tedious and boring and time consuming. And like, yeah, when I'm engaging in battle, when I'm in combat, it's like the best game I've ever played in my life.
Yeah.
And then whenever I'm going off on these vague quests, it is legitimately one of the worst games I've ever played in my life. It is a very unbalanced experience. And the only reason I really want to even talk about this in a negative light, because like I said, it is my game of the year. And it, I was gonna say it's my game of the year, and I don't see anything surpassing it. I could see this getting passed. I definitely could see this
Yeah,
getting passed for me. I do.
especially with the reception and stuff. But what
Yeah,
popped into what he was just saying there, it just like a light bulb pinged in my head. You were like, this is like the greatest combat ever, but the storyline is whack. And like, but you're holding it in really high regard. This is just literally the polar opposite of Alpha Protocol. This is just the polar opposite. Alpha Protocol's combat is absolutely shambolic for the story. There you go. Just pair up, guys.
yeah. No,
Duo
you're
team it up. Make Capcom do the combat and have Obsidian write them a story. But yeah.
you're 100% right. It is the polar opposite, and I feel very similar about both games. Like
Mm.
I
Because I
honest,
love, yeah, Alpha Protocol, even with all of its flaws.
I really think like if I was to give it a rating, it would probably be right around the same thing I would give Alpha Protocol. Funnily enough, like it's kind of the same exact problems, but on opposite ends.
Mm.
You're 100% right, man. But I did just want to bring up the issues I had with the game because, I know there's a lot of people out there who uh, will really find that obtuse nature to the questing a bit tedious and a bit annoying. And if you are somebody who gets annoyed by that style of just vague marker on a map and just go roam around. And like if that's something that pisses you off,
And
the
timed quests. Like
yeah,
that wasn't just the towards the end. Like there's multiple. You start that quest, you have a like the wolf thing. If you don't go and save him, that's it. He's dead. You fail that quest, and that
yeah,
could be something like because I don't even think you have to talk to that NPC when you're walking into town. I think that also gets thrown into your quest log. It's like a passing by thing. So if you're not 100% like fully paying attention, you're solely focused on like, right, okay, I go through this town, get some supplies, and then move on. And then you're like, what the hell do you mean I failed a quest?
yeah,
So yeah.
yeah, dude. It's a mixed bag. It is a mixed bag, but the highs are so high that it's like, fuck it, I'll take the lows with it. And but I will say, being able to just pick up an enemy on the fly, you're on the side of a mountain, you can just pick up an enemy and launch them off this mountain. And then it takes a second, and then you see your XP tick up. You're like, oh, he just fell to his death now. It's like 20 seconds later, he's finally falling to his death.
Did you do the spear hand
I
location?
I haven't yet.
It has a special, it doesn't offer you any XP for doing this because it's so stupidly broken. But you have like you have like, do you know, have you seen the Skyrim ragdoll where it freaks out, where you get hit by something and it sends you across the map?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
It does that as an attack. You do like a massive charge up and you just golf swing them and they just go ding out into space. It's amazing. It doesn't offer you any XP for killing them that way. I think it's only for small like a goblin or something and stuff like that. But it's so stupidly satisfying.
Where do you find that vocation? Do you remember?
The spear hand. What was his name?
Do you remember the area?
The thing is that if you don't stumble upon him, it was in Melve to begin with. When you're fighting the dragon, you find somebody who fights with a spear, and if you talk to him, he gives you the vocab. But you're meant to stumble upon him throughout the game, I believe. I'm gonna quickly
Awesome.
like look up his name.
Spear, as long as I got the location and the dude with the spear, I should be able to. So does he kind of just roams?
Yeah.
I'll find him because I definitely
Um,
want to check that out. I know that
Sigurd is his name.
what is it?
Sigurd, as in like a Viking. Sigurd.
Okay.
Sigurd.
All right. Cool. Got that down. I'll
Because when you're
definitely go.
meant to first encounter him is when it says like go check in on Melv and see what's going on, and then that dragon with the disease pops up and you fight it.
Okay.
He's helping you fight, and then yeah, if you didn't talk to him, which isn't that's a negative as well. Like you can completely miss that vocation, I guess, because there's no like quest markers, and I get it, it's immersive and stuff, but there's no direction. Like you've missed that vocation because are you after a dragon fight is your main priority? I'm gonna go talk to every single person that participated in that fight. Like that's just not that's unreasonable.
Well,
Capcom, come on, man.
and also like it would be cool if there was like vocation quest markers and main quest markers and side quest. There's none of that. It's just a big line of quests.
Yeah.
So
And
it is what it
the only
is.
way they differentiate them is if it's timed or not. They at
Yeah,
least mark the ones that are timed with an hourglass, and it's just like, oh wow, how kind of you, Capcom. Jesus Christ,
I
thanks.
swear. But and
Better than nothing, I suppose.
that's the thing too that people should be wary of. Like this is I'm telling you, you can finish this game in 10 to 15 hours. So like be cautious that you're not just kind of following the next objective, because you will finish that game really quickly. And unbeknownst to you, like it'll be over. And there's like, from what I recall, there's only one point where it's like, hey, this is kind of the end game, but that's even too late at that point. Like
Mm,
it's already kind of on the timer. So stay around Vernworth, right? That's the name of the
yep, that was it.
yeah.
Couldn't think of
S-
the damn name.
stay in Vernworth, or hang around Melv, and go and raid some damn tombs, do some tomb raiding,
Do
explore
the
the
loony way
castles.
and just snail space, and there you go.
Yeah. I mean, I loved I thought that I think I finished up around 26, 27 hours. Um I thought that was excellent. Like that was the perfect experience for me. By the time I was at the end, I was able to, take out the final boss without it was challenging for sure. Like I used up pretty much all of my resources to get it finished. And so it was
That's how it
perfect.
should feel, though.
Yeah.
Like if you're getting to the end of the game and this is the final obstacle, if you get through it, like I know some people want like a breeze and an easy, but like the perfect balance for like most people is you've had these consumables, maybe you've used a few of them here and there, but like having to tap into that resource to like the very end and feel like they actually had use in the end instead of they just gathered dust in your inventory. Like
Totally.
that's a really good feeling.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. And you talked about it earlier, but yeah, stamina. Make sure you have some if
Some
you if
heart
you're
spuds.
yeah. Dude, how do
Gobble
you
them
know
spuds.
you remember all these damn names? That is incredible. I don't remember any of the names of the creatures, the inventory, any of
Yeah,
that
the heart
shit.
spuds, you have and then you turn that with the green warish, and then you make rubber and do all that down that with the dried meat and stuff like that, dried fish.
That's so sick.
You gotta wait for it to go ripe so that you can turn it dry so that it doesn't spoil.
God, dog. Yeah, you're really out there living that dragon. You're living that dragon life.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, man, it's right now it's my game of the year. I think it can be topped. I loved the combat. Some of my favorite combat of all time. You have any final anything else you want to hit on? Anything in specific that
No, like I think we've obviously that's like yeah, it's almost an hour of rambling about in Dragon's Dogma too. But it is really that good, but it's one of them things where definitely at least like boot up someone starting up a new stream maybe of the game or like so that you're not given like massive spoilers and you can just get a feel for the game because then you can see them go through the frustrations of the early game and stuff like that and see if it is something for you. Like at least till the first bit of the main city,
yeah.
because that kind of you can get a gauge. But no, I wanna hear your thoughts on them other two games because Alone in the Dark for me, I didn't. It's hearing that it was getting released didn't do anything, and then it came out and it didn't really make any waves. It didn't really, no one really cared that it came out.
Yeah, that's crazy to me. That game's great.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it's great. Like it's a great survival horror game. It's if it you can't expect, dude, my brain's everywhere. I'm gonna go ahead and jot down this timestamp real quick. If you expect Silent Hill 2 to be better than this, boy oh boy. I think people are gonna be in for a pretty unpleasant surprise when that releases. This because when you look at that Silent Hill 2 trailer, I think Alone in the Dark, everything, and I played through Alone in the Dark, finished it. I think everything that I experienced in Alone in the Dark looks substantially better than what I saw in Silent Hill 2. Of course, the story's going to be better in Silent Hill 2, and
Well,
the
you hope
puzzle.
that they don't mess that up.
Right, right. If they don't mess up the puzzles and the story, you have a leg up there. But like, I don't know, man. Alone in the Dark, it seems to be of a similar kind of quality bar. So it's going to be interesting to see if Silent Hill 2 is received in the
Mm.
same way, because it's a double A horror game. It's not as clean as Resident Evil and Dead Space. It's not as actiony, but there's some cool shit in Alone in the Dark. You can pick up melee weapons and they all break, so you're constantly having to go around and find different melee weapons. And you got crazy shit, man. You got obviously like pipes and axes and hatchets and all this, but you can pick up like crosses and stuff. You're smashing enemies over the head with crosses. Like, dude, it is the melee combat in this game is really fun. And they have a dodge ability where you press R1 and you just kind of slip, you bob and weave out of the way of the enemies and it is so OP. You can dodge out of the way of everything and just smash enemies with these different melee weapons. And it kind of, now that I'm thinking about it, it kind of is sort of actiony. You got like Tommy guns and shotguns and
Yeah.
obviously your pistols and all that. This game's cool, dude. Is there anything in particular you were curious about with it?
Um, where does it fall on like I guess the line, like, is it more in line with like an Alan Wake or
Yeah,
in
that's
like
actually
a
the
game like a combat and like gameplay kind of perspective where it's always pushing you forward, or is it kind of like Evil Within 2 where it's like these instances of areas and you're slowly exploring them and then you move on to the next instance?
it's very, very linear. It's the main mansion setup. So you get to play as you either get to play as what is it, David Harbour,
Yeah,
and
the
then
actor.
yeah, and then the
Yeah.
other actor, I forget her name. You can pick who you want to play as with those two characters, and they give you the option at the beginning of the game. Do you want to play as him? Do you want to play as her? The whole story setup is that her uncle is in this like insane asylum. This it's this big mansion in New Orleans where he's being cared for, but she feels like something's going on. He's writing her, telling her about all these prophetic sort of. She thinks he's, schizophrenic and that nothing's actually going on, but she just wants to be sure, make sure he's not in any danger, make sure he's not, endangering any of the different people in this mental
The
institute or
classic
whatever that.
horror setup.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's actually the story is really good. It's uh well acted. Of course, you got two big Jodie Comer, I believe, is the lady's name. And her name is Emily in the game, if I'm not mistaken. But you have these two big name actors, and for David Harbour, he had an excellent performance. I played through as him, and you're really just going through and trying to find what the hell is going on with this uncle. And then obviously, as you get in, the supernatural realm kind of opens up, and you're exploring in between the house, which the house is more Resident Evil 1 style. It loops back around, and they do cool things where if if there's a certain part of the house that you don't need to explore, they'll do weird things like there'll be a ladder that you use and it gets kicked down. So it kind of lets you know, okay, I don't really need to go back that way. So
Oh,
it's
that's
not,
good.
yeah, it's not overly backtracky or anything like that. There is backtracking, but it's kind of enjoyable to do the backtracking in this
Is
game.
is there no map then? Because I
Yeah.
felt like, oh, there is. Because
Mhm.
I liked what I don't know if the early Resident Evils did this, if they had maps and stuff. I can't really speak for that, but the remakes and stuff, I thought the really cool thing that they did with that was coloring.
Yep.
What was it? If you cleared everything out, it was red. Does that do it, or is that replacing it with the whole it kicks the ladder down? So it's like, ah, you don't need to go back there. You've done everything.
Well, it does both. It that you can select from the beginning of the game. Do you want to play classic survival horror or modern? In classic, it gives you pretty much no hints whatsoever. And then modern, which is the version I played, you can go in and it'll tell you, okay, this door is now unlockable. There's this puzzle in this room over here is now
That's so
solvable because
chill.
it's so chill, and it's real playing
Yeah.
it on normal, dude. It's a breeze to get through. Like I said, that little R1 dodge is really overpowered. There was one boss fight that was difficult, and they don't have many boss fights, but they do have like three pretty prominent boss fights that pop up. It's like a 5 hour game. I played it in two sittings. It's and it's $60. I do understand that is kind of a concern for a lot of people. Do I want to pay $60 for a double A? I don't want to say low budget, but lower budget survival horror title when I can just go pick up RE4 Remake. But if you've played all of those, if you've
Yeah,
played the
you
Dead
want
Space,
that itch. You want that itch. Because I remember RE3 remake getting like stick for being really, really short.
yep.
But it was like at the same time, like I understand that it's priced the same as say RE2 remake was. But did you get as much enjoyment out of it? Because I enjoyed both of them games a hell of a lot. So that was the main thing. Like I get it, it's shorter, that sucks. Maybe you wanted more, but like I would rather it end short and it be good the whole time than be like, all right, let's push this to an 8 to 10 hour game, and then there'd be like a massive slog of like 2 hours sections where it's just like this sucks.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe I might end up picking that up now.
Yeah.
It's on my
It's
radar.
of course, like I said, I wouldn't sit here and if someone came to me and said, would I recommend it for $60? I don't know. I do think a good double A price point is somewhere in that 40, $50 range. And I think that if you paid $40 for this and you're aware going into it, because that's the thing with me, whenever I found out it was shorter, I was like kind of pumped. I was like, hell yeah. Something nice in between Dragon's Dogma
Yeah,
2 and Rebirth and like all these huge games. Hell yeah, let me get something a little
yeah.
bit
Palette
shorter and to the
cleansers
point.
are really important.
Definitely, man. And there's a lot of quality of life features in here where like all of the notes in the game are voiced. So like you pick up a note and it just reads everything to you. And it they all are like well acted. Each note you pick up is a different person's voice depending on who the writer was. And it's
That's really cool.
they put a
I dig that.
lot yeah, they put a lot of effort into this. Like I said, you can feel the budget lacking at times, but you never, not once throughout my playthrough could I feel the effort lacking. Like it was, this was a very, and the puzzles, dude, there are some challenging ass puzzles in this game. There's one with you're having to connect these different lights, and you're in this kind of it weirdly has Tomb Raider or Indiana Jones vibes at times, where playing as David Arbor, you're raiding some tombs. You're going around in these, rappelling down a damn, like it's crazy how reminiscent it was of Indiana Jones for this survival horror title. But yeah, there's this one brutally difficult puzzle where I'm just like looping around. I'm like, what the hell? Where did I got to connect this one light. There's a small hole. I got to beam that light off of this reflector into the small hole. That light connects back to this one. I got to connect them both to open up this one section. Like there's some really, really
That seems
challenging
so
puzzles.
involved.
It's
That seems like a
very
massive
involved.
step up from like what you've initially explained.
Dude, yeah, it is. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's the combat is really easy. The puzzles are challenging, super, super. A lot of the puzzles are super challenging. But the cool thing, once again, is that on the map, well, specifically for the house, because that's the thing, and I won't go into many spoilers, but you do go into supernatural realms, and then you kind of get kicked back to the house. So there are realms that you're exploring that don't give you maps right off the bat, and
Hmm.
these are actually more combat focused areas. That's where a lot of the action takes place, and then the house is more exploration, traditional survival horror. And yeah, there's a really cool moment that, well, uh I'll go ahead and spoil Are you okay? It's not a story spoiler at all.
I mean, when it comes to spoilers for me, like it really doesn't. I don't particularly mind. Go
Okay.
nuts.
So, and it's a mechanical shift or a
Mhm.
perspective swap. Like right at the end of the game, it swaps to damn tank controls, like old school RE fixed
Oh
camera tank.
my God,
Dude,
no!
well, but
Why?
it's like 2 seconds, just as sort of a,
Okay,
yeah,
like
just as,
a paying homage to.
yes, very much just a quick brief toss in there, like, yeah, we didn't forget our roots. And it was nice, man. It was really nice. And it was cool to see, because I know they have the mods working with RE2 now, so that you can go in and play
Yeah,
the whole thing in the fixed camera,
that's
which is great.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just cool to see not triple A, but double A game, and the actual base game throwing that little feature in there as just sort of a, like you said, paying homage to the where it
Who
came from.
who made this and published this?
It's under the Embracer umbrella. The
Oh my
publisher,
God, their first W in like how many how many months?
the
Wow,
develop,
guys.
let's see, who developed this bad boy? It was developed by Pisces Interactive.
Never
Um,
heard of them.
Me either. They have worked on Titan Quest, just Titan Quest and Magica. So
I
what
didn't know that.
a
I know I think Crate Entertainment did the original Titan Quest. They must have been like maybe a support. Is that for the re-release Titan Quest or is that the original?
yeah, these are 2019,
Yeah.
2017. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think they might have. they did the expansions that weren't too well received.
Yeah. Yeah, this is
Hey, like everybody gets their break. Like, maybe they wobbled a few times, and this was it sounds like a really solid title. Yeah, it was short, but hey, man, was it enjoyable?
yeah. Yeah,
That's all that matters.
it is, man. It was published by THQ Nordic, so yeah, there's some respect to be put on THQ Nordic for a lot. I think Outcast was as well, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken. Yeah, so they have a
it's
good output.
it's something I want to throw a little bit of praise their way. They always had, when it was the original, like THQ as well, they always had an eye for things that other people just wouldn't want to touch. And they ended up doing some real, like Darksiders, for instance, almost never came to fruition because no publisher wanted it. And I think THQ was one of the last people to see it. And I remember reading the devs, they were so defeated. It was almost like a feeling of like they tossed it on the table and they're like, look, here you go, because it was
Yeah.
just like everybody had given them the cold shoulder for the whole like event. Nobody wanted to touch it, and THQ were like, "It looks rough, but it looks interesting." And they're like, "Wait, what?" And they're like, "Yeah, look, go on, see what you got." And
Yeah.
that's what I mean. They always seem to have an eye for the things that other people don't.
Yeah, and there's things in this game, dude. Like they have a stealth mechanic in here which creates some crazy ass encounters where I think you press triangle and you'll like slowly sort of sneak around and most enemies can't see you, but they can hear you, so you're trying to be as quiet or silent as possible. And they'll pop out, there's a lot of jump scares, which I don't mind jump scares. I kind of like jump scares. And they'll pop out and you want to, because I think is it hold L3 or is it circle? I have so many games in my head, but you want to just sprint away, you know? And if you sprint away, obviously you're going to make a bunch of noise. But usually if you just stay silent, stay quiet, even though they jump out at you, they're going to keep walking because they don't hear you
Oh,
and they
that's
can't see you.
interesting. That's
So
cool.
it creates like really tense moments, but it's, usually not all that. And like I said, if you do
You
get
can't combat that though. Just out of curiosity, there's no like combat in that sense with that
like stealth
interaction when
kills.
they stealth kills or just like whipping out the gun and stuff and dealing with that.
Oh
Because
yeah,
you
yeah,
said
yeah.
you get, oh, you can. Okay.
Yeah, you can there's no like there is not
I
a
didn't know if you
single.
meant that when you were literally back in the house, that is it. Like you're exploring, and then only when you're ripped into that other world do you get given like the combat mechanics and stuff.
Oh no, yeah, you're free reign to do anything that you want throughout this entire game. If you want to avoid every
Two thumbs
enemy,
up from me then.
yeah.
Hell
There, I mean, there's like a couple bosses that you have to fight. Well, the final, obviously, but like, I don't think you have to fight pretty much any. You can run away from everything. Oh, well, there's some birds in two sections that I think you have to kill, or one section for sure. But yeah, no, it's pretty much totally left up to the player. Writing is really good, story is really good, presentation I think is solid. Like this, I know it's sitting in like a 6 out of 10 on Metacritic. Like this is an 8 out of 10 game to me. This is seven, high sevens, low eights. This is fun, man.
Is
It's
it
really,
really
really
sitting
fun.
that low? I know I've like heard that not many people are hot on it, and it kind of flew under the radar. It's really sad when this happens.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bummer. I don't know why this happens. It almost feels like people were expecting it to be Resident Evil. And like I said, it is $60. So I guess you kind of can compare it, but I don't know if you're necessarily comparing the right things. You know what I mean? Because if we're looking at it just for objective game quality, then I don't really understand how this could slip that low because I think the Sinking City is higher than this, if I'm not mistaken, which is baffling, dude. I like the Sinking City, but like Alone in the
I'm
Dark is
having
a
a look
hundred.
now.
Yeah, let me know,
It's
dude.
60, it's 64. Yeah, and the Sinking City 71. And
That's
that's
dumb.
so funny because 64 for the critics, and I think it was like 78 for users. Sinking City 71 for critics, 6.0 for users. It's
Oh
like
wow.
again the opposite, the
Yeah.
yin yang.
Now this is better than the
Man,
Sinking City. This is way better than the Sinking City.
damn, I really really love the Sinking City as well.
Oh, I do too. Yeah, I love the
So
Sinking
that's
City.
no, that's what I mean. That's crazy. That's a lot of praise, and I'm kind of surprised. I think I think I saw one of the trailers and it looked whatever I saw of the gameplay, whatever they showed me at that time, it didn't look too hot.
Yeah.
Um,
I
because I felt the same thing when I first saw the gameplay of Stalker 2. It looked really rough, and it's just like, ugh. And it's like, do I like lock in this game and like commit to buying it if it's gonna be like that, or do I just go and like because this is a fairly recent release, wasn't it? It was like 2 weeks
yeah, I
max, I think, within that
think two
past
weeks
two
ago.
weeks.
Yeah.
So of the two, I'm gonna flock towards Dragon's Dogma too.
Of course. Yeah, of course. And I would
So
recommend everybody to do the same. Like, and that's the thing, I try to look at this, and even talking about Dragon's Dogma too. Of course, this is such a subjective conversation, just the nature of it, but um, it's. I want to try to look through the good and the bad, and I want to try to understand all perspectives, but like, I really just don't understand a 64. Like there, I can't even begin to really come to that understanding for Alone in the Dark. I could understand a
um
74 for sure, but a 64, I don't get. Like there, I had not one time playing this Alone did I run into a single bug or performance issue at all.
it feels like the because some outlets get like really flamed for overpraising something. So maybe they received it and they were like,
This is one of
it's
those
not like the
games we can get
best.
away with.
It's not one of the best, but it's not one of the worst. But like we don't want to say it's better and then like be the outlet that stands out from the rest of them. Like they see somebody give it like a 65 or whatever, and they're like, man, we can't give this like an 80 because we'll look like idiots if
Yeah.
it's like perceived really bad by like the audience and stuff. And I don't know, you just need to like just
Be
trust your heart, guys, man. Just be honest with
yeah,
your
be
damn review.
honest.
If you enjoyed it, just say that you enjoyed it. Like there's no shame in that. Like, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is to me, I this is high sevens, low eights without a doubt. This is a really fun game.
Man, that's
Uh,
back to back then that I've skipped on that you've really resonated pretty well with from
was
like
the
a lower budget, the
Outcast.
Outcast thing
Yeah.
from THQ Nordic. I also skipped on.
I will say Outcast I definitely prefer more than Alone in the Dark. Outcast fucking rules. I really think that might end up in my top 10 of the year. I loved that game.
Hell yeah.
Guess we'll
Awesome.
close it off with Open Roads here. Jot down this time stamp.
Was that the game that just dropped on Game Pass like a couple of days ago?
Yeah, this is the
Getting really low reviews on like the Microsoft Store.
it's not good.
But oh, okay. Apparently it's
Yeah.
really short as well, only 2 hours.
Yeah, it's only about 2.5 hours. I finished it the day before I went to New Orleans. Um,
Damn.
I love these style of games. I love these style of games, the Telltale adventure games, point and click, whatever you want to call it. This is an Annapurna published title. Um, and so, of course, out the gate, you expect some level of quality. And I don't think it's a bad game. It just it doesn't ever punch, man. Like it feels like it's in a boxing fight and it's trying to wear down the opponent, but like after it wears the opponent down, it never delivers the knockout blow. Like there's
It wins
nothing.
itself. It does dodging and then, I've got a stitch.
Yeah, it feels like that. It feels like by the end of it, they're like tired of telling their own story or something. Like they just kind of it
It's
fizzles
crazy
out.
in a 2 hour time span of that as well. Like not even 4 hours, and you kind of that's that's crazy.
Yeah, and it's the funny thing is it's not only 2 hours of content, it's like 2 hours of elongated content. Like your character can't run. So you're in these walking sim sections and you're just literally walking, like you can't move quickly. So it's not 2 hours of like jam-packed story material. It's 2 hours of a little bit of story, a little bit of walking, a little bit of like driving. The Here's the thing, the setup is fun. You are playing as this girl, and you and your mom are cleaning out your grandmother's house. She passes away. You're cleaning out her house, and you end up finding some information that would lead you to believe she was maybe having an affair. And it seems that her and that fella could have been up to some mischievous behavior. And so you're finding all these different clues and these different breadcrumbs and you're tracking them down. You actually end up going to, not a spoiler, but you end up going to Canada to track them down or to track, not to track them down. Obviously, your grandma passed away, but trying to track down more and more clues and see who the hell this dude was. What was he up to? And you find out more and more interesting information about him, and I won't spoil anything. It just doesn't go anywhere past that. Like, and I understand the idea of leaving it up to the player's interpretation of like what happens next and where we go from here. And there,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, but not in a 2 hour game. I don't really
Is
get it.
this is this like Firewatch? Did you play that?
I haven't yet. I have it downloaded. I haven't played it yet.
Oh, I'm so sorry. But
Is it
like
bad?
it's no, it's incredible, but the ending just blows because it does the thing like what you're saying where like you have all this build up and then nothing. Like it's
Yeah.
just left up to the player. So it seems like they've kind of gone down that route. And that's really unsatisfying for a game because you're like really invested in like what's going on, that's intriguing, that's interesting, and then there's no payoff. So is that what this is? Is
It's exactly it. Yeah. It's exactly
uh
that. And it's my least favorite type of adventure game where it's a lot of walking around picking up items and examining, just slowly examining them, twisting them, turning them, putting them back down, having a like there's really the decisions you make are so limited, so few and far between that actually have any real consequence. It's just I definitely there's things I could relate to with the daughter. Like I found her, I mean, she's a little bit spoiled and a little bit bratty. Like she doesn't really have like a true understanding of existence, of how difficult life is going to be. But she's 17 or whatever. Like she's in for a rough road. Her family isn't put together all that well, but they seem to kind of have shielded her away from that information. So that
mhm.
there's cool things like that that I think most people can at least relate to on some degree. And there's a relationship with her father that plays out throughout the game, through a series of text messages. And I'll just kind of leave that there. But that's the thread to me that was the most interesting out of anything going on, was like to see where that ends up going. Because, there's definitely some tension between the father and the mother, and you're kind of left in the middle. And I wish they would have explored that a little bit more than they did. And yeah, it doesn't really feel like it goes anywhere. The art style is good. It kind of has like this 90s cartoon animation aesthetic to it, but it's not like fully animated. Or like when characters are talking to one another, they'll say like the first few words in a sentence and then the rest of
Mm.
it will just be kind of like still images. Um it's
Mm.
yeah, it feels a little everything about this game feels a little bit rushed.
That's really strange as well for a published Annapurna game because
Right.
they usually ooze like creativity or art style, and it's just always like they're always firing on 11 for them. Like maybe the game won't be the most fun to play if it's not like your type of thing, but it's always a spectacle from
Yeah.
them. So to have this drop be really short, doesn't really deliver on the ending, and then kind of cut corners as well, and like the art style and presentation, that's very weird.
Yeah, I agree, man. It's I don't really have a ton else to say on it. It is one of those games where like the more you say about it, the less there, because it's 2 hours. So like anything I say from this point on
You
would
can't
almost
say
just,
anything without spoiling
yeah, there's
the
so
tiny little
little.
nugget.
It's rough, man. There's so little really to even talk about with the game. It's like that's kind of my full thoughts there, man. So open roads,
Just play as Dusk Falls, please.
yeah, yeah, and Loon, that's really the big thing. You're talking about a Game Pass title. There's so many of these heavy hitter decision making. You have the full Mass Effect trilogy. on Game Pass Ultimate. You know what I mean? Obviously, that's more in the action sphere. So if you're looking for something more chilled out, you have As Dusk Falls sitting there. You have heavy hitters on there. You have The Walking Dead in there. You
The
know,
Wolf Among Us is still on there, buried down deep. Go try that as well.
so
Cracking game.
yeah, it's I don't know who I would recommend this to unless you're, because that's the thing. If you're someone like me who tries to play all of these decision-making games, like I love all, I shouldn't say I love all, I love trying all of these. They are the perfect, to me, talk about palate cleansers. These style of games are the perfect palate cleansers. But this, this did absolutely nothing for me. Balloon, that is rambling reviews. That's everything. You just Dragon's Dogma through and through
Yeah, I
to the
can't.
core.
I'm sorry.
No,
And
dude.
it might be like that next week. I'm trying. Yeah, this arrived today. It's
Oh,
obviously
cool.
reversed. Finally tracked down a copy of Trepang Squared. I don't think it's two. I think it's squared. It's,
Oh, really?
well, it's
Well, it is the
it's
two above.
yeah,
Yeah.
the two above the thing. So I don't know like what that's all about. Because I even went and looked. I was like Trepang two. I don't remember there being a Trepang one. And there isn't. They just went with that. So
Is there not there's not a first game?
no,
Oh
it's
my
not.
God. I've been calling it Cherry Pang 2 this whole time.
I think
That is
most
funny.
people have. That's yeah. So obviously I've not. That came with the deliveries that come today. So I've not cracked that open and had a look. But that's probably something I'll dive into. Um, yeah. So that I'll
Nice.
at least have something else other to talk about than be like, yeah, Dragon's Dogma 2, guys,
Hey, dude.
play it.
Well, I mean, I hate to I'm sorry, guys, but we'll definitely be talking about Dragon's Dogma 2 more next week because I'm going through. I'm gonna max out my Archer and my damn Sorcerer, and I'm probably gonna do the Mystic Hand or Mystic Hand. Is that right? What the
Mystic
hell?
Spearhand.
Mystic
Yeah.
Spear Hand. Yeah, I'll probably be going and doing that one as well. And then I definitely imagine I'll put in another 15, 20 hours before we talk about it next week. So we'll be talking about more Dragon's Dogma 2 next week, but. Appreciate you good people for tuning in. We are about to jump into our news segment. Obviously, we'll chop these up, deliver them out to you in not I was gonna say bite-sized form, but over an hour of
This
rambling about Dragon's
one big
Dogma.
bite.
Big old bite. Appreciate you guys, and see you in on the other side when we talk about. You'll actually, to be fair, you're gonna see the news before you even see this. So I don't even know what the hell I'm doing at this point because we're recording this before the news
We're
because
screwing with them. There you go.
we were
Keep them
waiting
on the
on
toes.
we're waiting on any damn decent news to pop up, and I don't think there is much of anything. So we're gonna jump over to that. Appreciate you guys. See you on the other side. Goodbye.
Thanks.